Good afternoon and welcome to the channel. So today is the day that we need to do an oil change on the 2017 Dodge Charger that we've got. So this will be a how-to change oil for the 3.6 liter Pentastar. I have not done it yet. This car has not had the oil change. It's still on its break-in oil or original oil from the factory. So we're going to be changing that, and I'll go over what you need to do to change the oil in this. So let me show you some of the stuff that you're going to need for the filter and oil, what they recommend, how much it holds, and tools. So let's go over that real quick. So first thing that might be kind of handy is a creeper for getting under the car. A drop light will be nice for being under the car as well. We're going to be running the Mopar oil filter. It's a MO-349 is the oil filter number. And then Dodge, what they run in theirs and what they recommend is running the Pennzoil Platinum. It's a full synthetic 5W20. This is 5 quarts here, and then you got to get an extra quart because it is a 6 quart capacity that this engine does hold. So also a ratchet and an extension with a 15/16 socket for getting the cap off for the oil filter, a 13mm socket, or you can use a wrench for the drain plug, and then a 10mm for the skid plate or splash guard that I'll show you guys that we need to take off under the car. You will also need a drain pan, and make sure you dispose of your oil properly. Don't dump it in fields or anything like that. Normally parts stores have free oil that you can drop off, used oil, so dispose of it properly. The other thing that I would recommend is either having some ramps to get the car elevated, or if you jack it up, make sure you use jack stands. Secure the car while it's up in the air. Definitely do not want the car falling on you. So let's go ahead and get into changing the oil on this. One other thing, this is the drain pan that I'm going to be using. Make sure your drain pan, this is a 7 quart drain pan. Make sure it is 7 quarts or more. I would say you don't really want to get down to 6. You want to have enough room in your drain pan. So you're also going to need that. So coming up under the car, this right here is the front of the car. This panel here says remove for maintenance or service. You've got 2 bolts at the back, and at the front you got little arrows and 2 bolts at the front. So we're going to go ahead and take those out and get that skid plate out of the way. One good thing I like to do, keep the 4 bolts, keep them all in the same spot. I like putting them on the inside of a tire so I know where they're at, and then just slide this back and it'll come right out. Okay, this is still the front of the car where my hand's at, and then looking that way is the back. Here's the oil pan that gets exposed once you take that plate off. At the back of the oil pan right here is the drain plug. So get your pan lined up, put it back a little bit further. That oil is going to shoot out a little ways, so make sure that it's going to hit the pan, and then go ahead and pull that drain plug. So once the oil is done draining, just take your drain plug, clean it up with a rag. They do have, sometimes there'll be a washer that is a seal. This one has like a rubber O-ring down in here, the orange part. Just make sure that that is still attached to the drain plug and it's not fallen off or stuck to the oil pan. If it is, just reinstall it onto the drain plug, and then go ahead and put the drain plug back in, and we'll go over that. Alright guys, you can see the oil is slowing down, draining out. Take the rag also and wipe off the whole surface area where the drain plug goes. So we've got that wiped off. You want to wait for all the oil to drain, but once you get to this point, it is all drained. So we're going to go ahead and install the drain plug. Wipe that off one more time. And then go ahead and just take your ratchet and a 13mm socket and tighten that up. I do not know the torque spec on this. You could definitely call your local Dodge dealer. They could give it to you. For me, I am just going to tighten it up nice and tight for my likings. You don't want to go too tight because this is a aluminum oil pan and you don't want to strip that out. So if you're a little unsure about it, just call your local Dodge dealership and find out the torque spec for the oil drain plug. Next, you're going to want to reinstall the plastic shield. So just take that and slide the front towards the front of the car, slide it in so it hooks and grabs. Grab all your bolts. And then start all your bolts by hand. And then you'll go back over them and tighten them up. Like I said before, that is a 10mm socket that you're going to need for these bolts. They are very small, so you don't need to get crazy tight with them. Just get them nice and snug. It's not holding anything other than this plastic skid plate, so don't need to get carried away. Alright, we've got the whole plastic skid plate reinstalled. Get all your tools and the oil pan out from underneath the car, dispose of that oil properly like we said, and then we'll get up to the top and show you what you need to do for the oil filter. Alright, so up top here at the front of the engine, right down in here is where your oil filter is. That is the 15/16 socket for this head right here to pull this cap off. So we're going to go ahead and remove the cap and change the filter, and I'll show you guys how to do that. You might want to have a rag handy because it's probably going to try to drip oil everywhere. And actually it's not going to. So you can see the oil filter is right here, and the oil filter housing down there is drained of the oil. I will show that. So to get this filter off, all you got to do is grab the bottom of it and the top of the cap, and it is dumping oil out now. And you just need to pull that straight out, and that will separate the filter from the cap. And then this is what is your filter, and you can dispose of that. And there's also an O-ring on here that we're going to have to change. So this is the O-ring on the cap here. You can just basically roll that up and remove that O-ring. And give me another rag. So you got the O-ring off of that. You're going to want to take a rag and clean this cap up, and then also wipe your hands down a little bit. So let me get that rag. So the next step is in the box here is going to be your filter right here, and then your O-rings down in here also. So here is your O-ring. Would you open up that quart? So just take your O-ring and slide it down onto the cap here. And one important thing to note, hopefully you guys can see this, you do not want it all the way down at the bottom. There is a groove right in here where it sits. You can see that, it is easy to see. You can see this groove where the thread starts. It does not go there, it goes just a little bit below it. So put that O-ring there, and then take a little fresh motor oil. Just get a little fresh motor oil on your finger, and just wipe it around that O-ring for a little lubrication. And then take your oil filter. You've got a hole in the one end, and then on the other end there's like this little stinger sticking out of it. The hole is what goes down into the cap. So just put that down in there and snap that in. And then down in here where it goes, you just kind of want to wipe. I just wipe this top edge out just a little bit. Do not knock any dirt down in there. And then go ahead and take your filter and your cap, insert it down in there, and then screw that down by hand. It is a plastic cap, so you want to screw it in by hand, just to make sure you're not cross-threading it or anything. And then go ahead and tighten that down. So on the cap it says 25 Newton meters is what you can torque it to. I'm just going to tighten it down by hand. I'm not going to get crazy tight with it or anything. Just right there, nice and snug, not too tight. And then just make sure your work area where you're working at, if you've dripped any oil, you wipe anything up. You just want to keep that clean. Then it's standing at the front of the car, right to the right. Right here is the oil fill cap. So go ahead and take that off. And then go ahead and add your oil. One thing I didn't say, but a funnel will also be very handy for this. But just take your funnel and put 6 quarts in there. I'd go ahead and take your rag for when you lift the funnel out, and then just catch the funnel in the rag so you're not dripping oil everywhere. And if you've got any oil that is spilled or anything, make sure you get everything cleaned up here as well. And then go ahead and reinstall your oil fill cap. Alright guys, we've now changed the filter, drained the oil, put the new oil in, put the plastic skid plate back up underneath of it. We've got our oil fill cap is back on. Everything is snugged up. So one thing you're going to want to do is go ahead and start it up, check for any leaks, and then also get it onto flat ground before you check the oil level, because the car sitting at a level like this is not going to give you a true reading. So I'm going to go ahead and fire it up, back it down onto some flat ground, and then we will check and see if there's any leaks, and then we will check the oil level as well. So go ahead and just fire it up. Definitely watch the gauges and stuff. Make sure that you don't have like a check engine light or low oil pressure or anything like that. Everything's looking good. So I'm going to go ahead and back this down onto some flat ground here, and then I'll check it for leaks, shut it off, and check the oil level. Definitely want to look under the car, make sure that there's not any oil leaking. There is not. Doesn't hurt to come up here and check around the oil filter you put in, and it is not leaking anywhere around that either. So I'm going to go ahead and shut it off, and we'll check the oil level. So one thing I got to add real quick is I was telling you guys, put that drain pan far enough back for when you pull that drain plug so the oil doesn't shoot out too far from it. It does shoot out a ways, and as you can see, I did miss the pan a little bit, but this is what I mean by make sure you got a pan big enough to hold all the oil, because that is extremely full. Now that we got it sitting on level ground here, let's go ahead and check the engine oil level. So at the front of the car on the left hand side right here is your dipstick. So let's go ahead, pull that out, wipe it off the first time here. Go ahead and put it back in and see what reading you have on it. And I don't know if you guys can see that, but it is full. So go ahead and wipe it off, put it back in, and then you are good to go. One last thing on your cluster here, you want to go down to vehicle info and scroll over, and you will get to oil life. Hold OK to reset, and now it is reset. So that is how you reset your oil life on the vehicle. Alright guys, well hopefully this video was helpful for you. If you own a 3.6 liter Pentastar on doing an oil change, this is our first time doing it. It is extremely easy to do. I would recommend changing your own oil. If you have a place to do it and the tools to do it, it is not hard to do at all. So hopefully if you need any information on how to do this, hopefully this video will help you guys out. I really appreciate everyone stopping in and checking out this video. If you liked it, give me a big thumbs up on it. Also leave any comments down below of any questions you might have, or just anything in general. I look forward to hearing from you guys and talking to you guys. So I will catch you guys all in the next one, and until then, take care.